this second session, which is going to be a little history, but a lot of it is going to be tuning in with Vyasa, really, the one who authored this Bhagavad-Gita, which is just a small little piece of a bigger book called the Mahabharata, which is just an ancient classic scripture that took him 2.5 years to write in a cave. And he's also the author of the 4 Vedas and the Puranas, or the Puranas of India, all classics. They say that this Bhagavad-Gita is the essence of the 4 Vedas, the Upanishads, the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, and the 108 Upanishads. It's the essence of India. It's the essence of that part of the world and its civilization since the beginning of time. So how did Vyasa do this? It says, this is all just taking little snippets from the introduction that you had read part of, and this homework this week will be to read the rest of the introduction. But any great sage, any great illumined being can tune in to the super ether and pull up from the Akashic records everything that's happened in any time or space continuum, in any dimension. They can pull up, like just pulling up the history of it, and see it through their intuition. So his mission, Vyasa, was to pull up this history during the King Bharata dynasty and the King Santanu time frame, which was 3 generations before Krishna and Arjuna, and say, you know what, I'm going to write from the history of actually things that happen. I'm going to write spiritual metaphors. I'm going to compile from history how exactly the universe was created, how you and I have descended from cosmic consciousness into mortal consciousness, and I'm going to, in the dialogue, in this little part of the Mahabharata, I'm going to describe how that soul, step by step, reascends back into cosmic consciousness. So he dialed in to a period of history which forms almost the outer shell of this Indian classic, which is just a part of the Mahabharata. 700 verses, that's all. And he was able to, use the metaphor and spiritual analogy, but also kind of everyday things that happened to the people of that time, and interweave a masterpiece, quite frankly, of this experience that's happening right now with you and me, that the Spirit is in absolute, complete oneness with our soul, which is our essence within you and me, and is dialoguing through intuition, which we'll talk about next week and probably the rest of forever after that, through intuition. And this is the direct teachings, right? This is the direct teachings that really is our ultimate destination and the ultimate so-called study in this human condition, is the direct one-on-one correspondence with Spirit. So Bhagavad-Gita means the song of the Spirit, ever singing to you the joy of your existence and the joy of eternal existence and of oneness with bliss itself. A song, a constant song, just like a smile is the heart of God. And eternal laughter is the eternity of God. So is the song, singing. We love song and singing, right? That's what's going on with you. And your soul is responding. It is. It really is. Because they can't be apart. They can't ever be apart. They're one, absolutely perfectly in union, in yoga, your soul and spirit. So it's singing a song back. So there's a song of spirit to the soul and the song of the soul to the spirit right now. And he also used these figures in history, these people in history, and he related them to psychological qualities and to metaphysical truths. And then he went to the root of the word to best describe that quality. In a Sanskrit root that absolutely nails this particular figure in history with this particular psychological or this emotional or the spiritual, metaphysical truth about us. And each one of those words we're going to learn about as we go about in the course. Each one of those qualities you're going to get very, very familiar with. And what's very cool too is that we all come from the same ancestry, you and I do. We all come from source, and we'll see today, because we're going to kind of follow this genealogy that was toward the end of the introduction. Don't know if you've seen it yet, and some of you brought your books. I should have reminded you to all bring your books today. But we're going to kind of follow this genealogy or this history of the King Santanu time, which represents Param Brahma, or God the Father Creator. But he was, again, 3 generations before Krishna and Arjuna. But that's where the Mahabharata begins, with the King Shantanu time. And we're going to follow that down, and we're going to start to see how the clans, the 2 warring factions in the Gita part itself, where their genealogy comes from. But really, it's the same warring clans between our good habits and our not so good habits, between the soul and the ego within us. They're cousins. Just like the Pandus and the Kurus representing those tendencies of us that what we say is pravriti, which means our desire to be out in this world, enjoying the things of this world, trying to make something happen in this world, seeing this world as real. Versus nirvirti, which is the Pandu qualities, which is our soul qualities, which saying, no, it's all within. Everything out here is a projection of what you already are. You are the world. You are the cosmos within. Your spine is a highway to the infinite. So let's explore this yogic science, which the Bhagavad-Gita is. It's an absolute royal science of us retracing our steps inward and upward. And this is not to be taken personally. You know why? Because the whole delusion, all our problems, all our worries, birth and death, and the pain that you and I go through for a long, long, long time, it's part of God's creation. It's not because you and I have been bad. It's not because you and I are doing something wrong today. It's not because of genetics. You will see that in this way that Vyasa wrote this, that this is just God's creation. So if we can accept the way that God created, we'll be way ahead of the game. And the Bhagavad-Gita is chock filled with everything you ever want to need to know about creation. We're going to just get a little snippet of it today. But remember, Source wasn't created. Source isn't created. Source is source, unmanifested. It doesn't have a form. It's vibrationless, formless, infinite spirit. I mean, there's no way you and I can even consider that idea right here, sitting here with the consciousness we have. But that's source. And as Yogananda describes, and it will be in one of these pages as we go through them, he said God just wanted to divide herself into many, so that the many, which is you and me, could enjoy the source and enjoy the source in each other, and then as the many become one again and go back to source. And Yogananda even says in here, but God didn't know that was going to cause a lot of trouble. Or he may not have done this whole thing called creation, because you and I have gotten a little stuck along the way. Humanity's gotten a little stuck along the way, right? But the show will go on, and it is a show. But can you imagine just this blissful absolute where you and I are we're just transcendent. We're one, we're in bliss, it's ever new, we're conscious of it, and everything's perfect. And there's no form, there's no planet, so we don't live on any planet. You know, we're spirit. And then Spirit says, okay, we're going to have a creation.